The Manhattan Project, worked on two paths. One was plutonium breeding, and the other was uranium enrichment. If I remember correctly, Oak Ridge was the center for the uranium enrichment, and then Hanford, which continues to be this place where nuclear has a prevalent history. In full disclosure, I'm from Washington originally. Hanford, it was about an hour away from where I went to college, and that still to this day is federal land. It's very guarded. It has nuclear reactors, it has nuclear waste, it's close to the Columbia River for the prevalence of water, which is needed in nuclear cooling. So I know a lot about the geography of that. Why did plutonium breeding just not work versus why was the uranium enrichment successful?
Well, plutonium breeding not working is not quite the way that I would characterize it.
Okay.
So we have two bombs. So if we're still thinking about the Manhattan Project and atomic bombs in general, we end up with two bombs. One is a uranium bomb and one is a plutonium bomb. Okay. And the plutonium is bred in reactors. So they do that. They get enough of it. It's not enough it's not enough as they wanted, and it's not enough as they thought they needed at the time. So we have those two bombs. It's hard to say. They were obviously successfully deployed and they both worked. That's an awful way of putting it, but if we're just thinking cold hard science, we have those bombs. They exploded over Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945. They do the job. They kill a lot of people. They cause a lot of destruction. Yeah.
The testing in Los Alamos, again, we're in the subject of what are the known effects and what are the unknown effects. Obviously, this is going on again. You're right near reservation land. That this testing's going on in New Mexico. New Mexico is another big. There's a lot of reservations in New Mexico, like Arizona. They knew it was going to cause destruction and devastation, but they didn't know the after effects. What kind of after effects were seen that the scientists you didn't even focus on it? A lot of your book is what did people not look at? What would the fallout be from testing there in Los Alamos?
I think there was always an understanding, and you can see that in the discussions when the idea that uranium was fissionable and that fissionable nature of it could be used and could be harnessed to make a bomb. We can see right from the beginning that there is an understanding that this is more than just a bomb. There's something going to happen. There's more than just the initial destruction.
Sure.
There is going to be radioactive exposure. The scientists understood that. The government understood that. There's two things going on. They didn't really know how much. They didn't really know or understand how much weather would cause the spread of radioactivity or not.
Sure.
There was a certain understanding. A lot of those bombs that were tested, especially outside of Vegas, they would do early in the morning, specifically because there was not much wind. So They would they knew that if there wasn't a lot of wind, the radioactive particles that were released would not be spread across wide swaths of the countryside. So they did know. They didn't quite know, and obviously didn't really understand the full implications of it. There's also an idea here around the greater good, and also who's affected. So when they chose the national testing site in Vegas, or just outside of Vegas, it was very, very much around, it's 65 miles away from Vegas. It's a couple of 100 miles away from Los Angeles. So we'll make sure those people are protected. Sure. They're not going to. So they didn't necessarily care so much about the people who lived in between those spaces.
Yeah.
So there's so many different things going on there.
Sure. Because in Vegas it was Camp Desert Rock that you talk about in your book. They built a full town in Camp Desert Rock, and you talk about how they use mannequins to use life situations to study the harmful effects of radiation. And these are just made they're effectively crash test dummies in a town. And they're understanding this, but that's what's going on in the situation. Obviously, that's not being fully talked about. The government's not going to go and say, hey, everybody, guess how bad this is. But in Vegas, it's completely different. Vegas is thinking, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. We can kind of use the atomic phenomena to spark up marketing, and you can watch the cloud plume from Vegas. And I mean, this becomes a marketing boom, with the exception of maybe some broken windows from time to time from the effects of this. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, the atomic bomb, or the testing of the atomic bomb, really changes Vegas from being a relatively small town into the Vegas that we know today, really. It boosts tourism so much. It also helps. There's an idea here that the tourist industry in general sort of leapt on, is that by allowing, even though they didn't have a choice, of course, by allowing these bombs to be tested so close to their town, they were contributing to American national security. They were being part of again, the idea of the greater good. And that was kind of used to deflect attention away from some of the more seedier elements of Vegas history, the connection with mobsters, all of those things. So, you know, they're saying, right, well, that's the past. We've got that reputation. Obviously, it didn't change too much, but now we are we are supporting national security. This town is doing something bigger than just gambling and marriages and divorces and things.
Sure.
You know, we're doing something else. So they leap on it. There's advertising. There's all the casinos, all the hotels really get involved in the atomic testing program. They offer special packages for tourists to come to their hotel to view the tests. There's cocktails, there's fashion as well. There's the atomic hairstyle that's offered by the Flamingo Hotel. You can pay $75 and get your hair bouffanted like an atomic bomb explosion with silver glittery bits in it as well. So much going on. You can stand at the top of on the top of hotel roofs and watch the atomic bombs, or you can be at the Desert Inn and you can stand in their cocktail lounge with a viewing platform to watch the atomic bomb go off. It's fascinating. So I find it really, I've studied it so much. I find it so bizarre still.
Well, and I also, if someone told me one of the main swimwears of the last, 50 years actually emanated from nuclear testing in the South Pacific, I would have laughed at you out of the room. I would have thought, how do they have any connection? And then you explained the connection, which was that obviously what we now know as bikini was new then. And the way they figured out to call it bikini, because atomic was exciting, it was fun, it was new. And I think you explained the triangles on the top of a bikini is what they likened to the nuclear testing, and that's what caused the bikini to become the bikini and has held ever since that.
I mean, this is the aspect of, again, this thing that really fascinates me about culture and how these things happen. But yes, so there's several layers to this story. There's the idea that the bikini is small, i.e. As small as an atom. Mm-hmm. So we've got this idea that the bikini is very small. It's atomic. It was also known as the atom swimwear at some point as well. So we've got this idea that it's really small, smallest thing in the world. So you've got that. We've also got the atomic testing in the Pacific, specifically in the Bikini Islands. So Again, we've got that reference there. So the word bikini is referencing where the tests are going off. It's actually an awful story, isn't it? A piece of swimwear is being celebrated by referencing the destruction of people's homes and lives. That's awful, but it is actually very fascinating as well. And as you said, fascinating that we still call it a bikini. It's still culturally important to us.
Yeah. Some, depending on how small, it could be radioactive, as some would say. So again, perturbing, Kix cereal. You talk about what Kix cereal was handing out. I think you took the box top like you normally used to do, and you could send it in. And what did Kix cereal send you back on this atomic marketing idea?
This is a ring. So this is a present for children. So they would send you back I can't even remember how many box tops it was. I think it was maybe like 5 box tops and 15 cents or something like that. And you would get back an atomic ring. And the idea is that a kid would use it. Wear it. It's it's all to do with ideas around atomic in general, but also bombs very, very specifically. So it is shaped like a bomb. You've got this little plastic at the end, like tail fins of the bomb as well. You've got little secret messages and you can look through it. Oh, it's just scary. And also it does touch on something else, which is the amount of uranium and radioactivity toys and activities in general that were being marketed to kids at the time. So we have like uranium science sets being marketed to kids that would come with pieces of actual uranium, and you were encouraged to experiment with your own little samples of radioactive material. Again, terrifying.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that they would send out a ring to kids with bomb ideas or uranium. But again, to your point, this was all new. You explain how Bush pilots, because again, I think of like, now we have all this GIS technology and we can use various seismic data and heat map data to understand where certain deposits are or things of that nature. But back then we didn't have the satellite work that we do today. So how would a Bush pilot help us find uranium deposits as they flew over, say, the Western United States, for example?
They're looking for radioactivity. So they would have, whether it's from the air or people walking around various parts of the desert, they would have scintillators, they would have Geiger counters. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Bush pilots, they would fly over these vast desert spaces, of course, and they'd have like a scintillator hanging from it. So scintillator is simply looking for radioactive rays. It's detecting radioactivity, and they would fly over bits where they got the strongest signal. They'd either drop something or tell the geographic marker of where it is, and then would go, and people on the ground would then go and investigate. So this is the search for uranium across vast amounts of American deserts, because there was the understanding that there in this area was uranium. It's just they didn't know where it was, and they needed to find the one that was the bit that had the strongest uranium as well. So uranium varies in strength in general.